Okay, good morning. We're going to begin a new letter of the Alter Rebbe here. This letter number 8. Surprise, surprise. The topic is tzedakah. And it's amazing, by the way, how each letter is another dimension, another teaching. And again, this letter was written just to understand the beauty and the special things about these letters. These letters are officially fundraising letters. We have a rule that says even the light talk of a Rebbe or a tzaddik has to be learned from. Sichas Chulin of Talmud Chacham, even if a scholar is talking just regular stuff, seemingly not scholarly works, there's much to be learned from it. A fundraising letter of the Alter Rebbe is much more than a fundraising letter. It was a chance to bring out the essence of either a Hasidic idea or relationship of a Yid with Hashem, or some powerful and profound teaching, etc. This letter was written in 1797, either in December or maybe or January of 98. I don't know exactly, but around there. In 1797, approximately. The letter, of course, was a longer letter, had a beginning, had an end. A lot of it is technical, like, how the money should be collected, how money should be gathered, etc. When the sons of the Alter Rebbe compiled this and put it into the Tanya after he passed away, they took out all the parts that were just technical for the time and left in the crux of it, the message itself they left in. This letter, at first glance, is about tzedakah. But the truth is, it's not about tzedakah. It's about davening. A lot of the last letter was about tzedakah. Actually, it was about a neshama, about a Jew, about a soul, about a journey, about life, about our identity, about our particular role. So every letter really is expressing either another aspect of tzedakah or expressing another very important idea in Chassidus or relationship to Hashem. So this letter is addressing the idea of Tefilla, and really what getting down to is, what is davening? To understand what is davening, we understand how could tzedakah be a preparation for davening. And that's really where we're going to go with this. There's a couple of very important ideas. Hopefully I don't forget to cover them as you go through this chapter. So we're on page 224. It's letter number 8. Actually, it's called Siman. It's Epistle number 8. I like to call it chapters. And it starts off as follows. It's a line from davening. We say every single day in davening, in the blessings of Shema, Zereah tzedakos, matzmiach yeshuos. We plant with kindnesses. He gives. We grow salvations. And where does this expression come from? Where do you find the word Zereah and tzedakah together? Seemingly, the word Zereah, we addressed this before in letter number 6, very briefly, and now we're going to go into much more depth in this chapter. The word Zereah doesn't really seem to fit with tzedakah. You could say, do tzedakah, acquire tzedakah, get involved with tzedakah. What does it mean, plant tzedakah? Planting is a word, doesn't really apply. Planting applies maybe to, if you're teaching somebody a message, you plant in their hearts a message. You're teaching a child. What does planting and tzedakah have to do together?
Maybe if you put a little stuff, it's
very good. So it says, in chapter 6, what we said was, the basic idea was that a tiny seed could produce hundreds and thousands of apples and continuous infinite amount of trees and branches and leaves from one of this tiny, tiny seed. That one act of tzedakah opens up a whole, and that's really the theme what we're going to get to. That's correct. But the truth is, the wording of Zereah tzedakah is not invented by the rabbis in davening. It comes from a verse in the Navi. It says, as we'll see in a moment, a verse, and that's what we're going to come to. So it's not really, the word Zereah tzedakah, matzmiach yeshuos, really is based on Hine Masher Kosev Zereah b'mitzvah tzedakah. The Alter Rebbe wants to know, this is something interesting, that it says the word Zereah by tzedakah. Seemingly it's not the right or the matching adjective or verb, whichever one is right, I don't know. We find it, like it says, plant for yourself tzedakah. So the idea that we see tzedakah and Zereah together is not the rabbi's thing in davening. It really goes back to a pasuk of the Torah. So it's not really a question on the davening, it's a question on the source. What is the connection between the word Zereah, planting, seed, and the word tzedakah? So to understand this, you have to go back and examine a very fascinating and important story in the Talmud, and a fascinating, important story that happened just 200 years ago. The story of the Talmud, and both of them are very famous. Both are very well-known stories. The story of the Talmud is, it says in Gemara, that Rabbi Eliezer Haggadah, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hyrcanus, every single day before he get davening, he would give a coin to a poor person. Why did he give a coin to a poor person? And by the way, the same behavior as the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab would specifically look not just for a pushka. He would try and find a poor person he could tzedakah to. Mequon would be a little harder to. That's why we find poor in other areas, poor in knowledge, poor in values, poor in the idea is, he says Rabbi Eliezer would first give a coin to a poor person, and then he would daven. So he would do it before he daven, he'd give a coin in charity or to a poor person. Why would he do it? Interesting. He based it on a verse. Ani b'tzedek echezeh panecha. I with tzedek. Tzedek literally means righteousness. I will come with righteousness to see your face. But he would translate the word tzedakah not only as righteousness, but also with tzedek the word tzedek not only as righteousness, but also as tzedakah with charity. If I want to come before you, oh God, I want to come pray to you, I got to first give charity. That's how we translate it. Now, this pasuk actually goes further. The pasuk continues, "Ve'esba b'hakitz manasecha," and I will be satiated when I'm awake from your picture.
Esba, shin betan.
Yeah, esba b'hakitz, by awake between asecha from your picture. So it says, "I will see you in b'tzedek." I will see you, and the pasuk, it doesn't quote it here. It continues with that. So you want to take a moment to share a very fascinating story that's brought down in the hint in Hayom Yom. It mentions the story in the first Maimer Basi Lagani, which we're going to learn. Mitzvah Hashem, the season's coming up. We're learning it. The Rebbe tells this story also in very short, and it's a very fundamental story about Yiddishkeit, about davening, about life, about tzedakah. The story is told as follows: that Tzemach Tzedek, as we know, the grandson of the Alter Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe had a daughter, Dvar Leah. Dvar Leah had a son, Tzemach Tzedek. When Tzemach Tzedek just before his third birthday, she realized, actually it was around his third birthday, she realized that she had information that the Alter Rebbe was going to pass away. There was a decree in heaven, the Alter Rebbe would pass away. She called together three of the biggest chassidim. She made an oath. She said, I want you to promise me whatever I say you're going to do. And they were hesitant, but it's the daughter of the Alter Rebbe. So they said, yeah. She says, okay, I want you guys to make a bezdin, a court. I'm giving up the rest of my life to my father. He should live and lead the chassidim, and I should pass away, because I know that he's going to die this year through her prophecy. So they didn't want to do it, but she said, you promised, and they did it.
It's such a big thing.
Listen, and what happened was, and what she did was, they made this whole thing before they were in Kodesh, they did it. And this was Erev Rosh Hashanah. The day after Rosh Hashanah, she passed away. She was fine before that. She got suddenly very sick, and she passed away. And actually, Rosh Hashanah in the morning, the Alter Rebbe came over to her to wish her a good year. Before he could say anything, he said, shh, you should have a good year. Before he could bless her. And basically, she asked him one favor, raise my son. Raise my son, it wasn't called Tzemach Tzedek, then it was called Menachem Mendel. Raise my son Menachem Mendel, please, as your own child. And that's what he did. He ended up actually marrying his, the Tzemach Tzedek ends up marrying his first cousin, Chaya Moshka, who was actually the daughter of the Mittler Rebbe. So ends up, it's his uncle. There's a father-in-law. Very interesting. So anyway, so bottom line is that Tzemach Tzedek had a very special relationship with Alter Rebbe in many, many ways. And there are countless stories that tell us a lot about a Rebbe Chassid, a Rebbe and a child, grandchild. One of the things was that he started a class 3 times a week learning with the Tzemach Tzedek. 3 times a week he learned with him. And it was a very personal, special gift that he and Tzemach Tzedek had together. They would learn together. He was born, the Tzemach Tzedek was born in Memtes. That's like 89, which is really, it was 89, 1789. The Alter Rebbe passed away in 1812. So do the math. He was 23, 24 when he passed away. The Alter Rebbe passed away. And the Tzemach Tzedek now, the classes seemingly would stop. But no, the Alter Rebbe came to him 3 times a week in a dream. I think it was 3 times a week. And he would teach him. This went on for months after he passed away. One day it stopped. No longer was it happening. And it was something he missed because he had questions. And It was literally 3 times a week they would study Torah together. It would be in his sleep. Anyway, and he asked, and he prayed, but nothing happened. It was over. One day, a while later, he's walking to shul, and he passes a butcher. The butcher's name was Reb Pinchas, a butcher. And the butcher says to him, today's market day, can I borrow 4 rubles? 4 rubles. It's like, say I'm saying to borrow today, $100. Those rubles, not like today's rubles. So, or they say a ruble then was like the value of today, $20 back then. So, can I borrow, let's say, 4 rubles? And Tzedek at that time would have a system. He wasn't Rebbe yet. The Rebbe was still the Mittler Rebbe. You can come to him, borrow money, and he'd pay you back. It was an interest-free system. It was a very special mitzvah to give interest-free loans. So that Tzedek said, sure, I'm going to daven. After davening, I'll find you, you find me, and I'll be happy to give you the money. So person, thank you. Tzedek comes to shul, and as he's fixing the strings of his tallis, he realizes, 1 second, this guy came to me to buy a cow and sell a cow for the butcher shop, for his store. By the time I'm done davening, and davening takes time, the good deals are going to be gone. By the time I go home and get the money and find him, he's going to miss an opportunity for a good deal. How can I do this? So he takes off the tallis from his shoulder, takes off his gartel, goes home, gets the money from his where he kept it, goes to the fair, walks in the streets till he finds the guy and gives him the money. The guy says, thank you. He comes back to the shul, and he's washing Negavasser, as a custom is before you go into a shul, you wash Negavasser, and standing, not in the dream, standing in front of him is the Alter Rebbe. And the Alter Rebbe smiles. And they resume the shir 3 times a week. They started learning. I no longer went for, they started learning again 3 times. I don't know if the continuation was at night or in the dreams. I don't know the details, but that's the story. That Tzemach Tzedek told his son, the Rebbe Maharash, who would become the next Rebbe. He says, he said, think about this. I gave the guy a loan of 4 ruble. That means the profit he's going to make is a couple of kopecks. A couple of dollars he'll make. He'll make a profit of $3, $4, whatever it's going to be. He says, for making the profit of $3 or $4 and helping out a Jew in business, the heavens are open. He says, it opens all Shari Hashemayim, all the windows to heaven are opened, and everything you need is open just for doing a mitzvah. The Rebbe quotes this in Hayem Yem, and the Rebbe said the story in the Basi Lagani, the story that Tzemach Tzedek doing the charity before davening. Good morning. So why is this story so important? So first of all, the second half of the pasuk says, "Esma b'hakitz t'monasecha." It's a capital Yud Zayin. I looked it up this morning, chapter 17 in Tillim, and it says there, "I will see you when I'm awake," meaning that tzedakah that you do not only at I will see you from tzedakah, but I will merit to see you even when I'm awake. And it was the reverse that you see applied to that Tzemach Tzedek. Why is this story so important? We're going to see here a very important question and discussion. And we're going to discover that tzedakah is not a preparation, that before you daven, you give tzedakah. It's the other way around. If you want to daven, do tzedakah. It's like many of us learned in the last last week, a sikha, which is a very profound, powerful, and very hard to accomplish sikha. The sikha talks about the power of trachgut with zayin gut. And the Rebbe goes into, why should a person think positive? If a person falls off a boat, and the water is cold, and the boat disappeared, he's out lying in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. He doesn't even have, the Rebbe used the expression, he doesn't even have a straw to hold on to. True betachin, not emunah, but betachin is, I'm relaxed. I'm not even worried. Hashem's for sure going to save me. As a matter of fact, it was going through my mind, I got to go shopping next week. I got to pick up the laundry. So what does that mean? Why should you feel that way? Who says you're worthy? Who says you're worthy? We see great people in history who bad things happen to them. So the Rebbe says it's not that you have betachin because Hashem's going to save you, but because you have betachin, Hashem will save you. In other words, to get to that state of mind that you're relaxed and you trust God, He's going to save you, that is a job that the average person can't get to too easily. When you get there, the reward for that is Hashem will save you. So it's not esvet zayin good. It's going to be good, therefore trach good. No, trach good, think good, and it's going to be good. In other words, the thinking positive will create a new reality, Hashem, and that merit will save you. And it's a powerful avodah. And we see many stories with the Rebbe. People gave brachas, and the Rebbe actually, the result was seen, the blessing was seen, etc. When somebody trach good, someone felt positive. People didn't think it was going to happen. It didn't happen. Okay. The giving tzedakah before davening is not like before you light Shabbos candles, it's good to give tzedakah. Before you go to do a mitzvah, you should give always associate tzedakah to a mitzvah. It's not as a preparation for the mitzvah. In order to do the mitzvah. Why? Because davening is about an experience. You see, on a simple level, as we'll see in this chapter, davening is about asking requests. I have a request from Hashem. I need God forbid someone to get better. Someone's not really needs to get a healing. I'm trying to do a business deal. I'm trying to buy a house. I want to travel here. I want to do this. I'm asking Hashem for my needs. I need more money. I need some peace of mind. You're davening. That's simple. That's what you're doing. On a deeper level, it's an experience of recognizing the truth. Everything I have comes from Hashem. It's like we spoke this past week. How the Nile River could be seen as a source of everything, or the Nile is Hashem's the source. You don't pray, Nile, please give me money. You please give me water for the fields. You pray, Hashem, please provide. The Nile this way or that way. It's a recognition that everything comes from Hashem. It's not the doctor who's going to heal you. It's not the business deal coming up that's going to save you. It's not this thing that's going to make you successful, this job offer, a job interview. It's Hashem, if through here or through there. In other words, it's a recognition that it's all from Hashem. But on a deeper level, it's Avodah Shebelev. What does it mean? On a deeper level, davening is not about asking for stuff or just being aware of Hashem. It's a relationship with Hashem. And that relationship comes from above. We can't get there. Hashem has to shine upon us. And we got to turn on a switch or do something to make that happen. In other words, for davening to be the experience it's supposed to be, we have to prepare so we could receive. Now, what does that mean? See, there's two ways in the world that a person, well, there's many more than two ways, but two of the ways in the world that things come to a group or to society, to a bunch of people. One is rain. Rain falls everywhere equally. When it's raining there, raining here, wherever the rain is coming down, hits it the same way. Not so a speech. If I'm giving a speech, or someone's giving a speech, especially if it's a very intellectual person, a scholar, a professor, a scientist, every person receives it differently. It's not like, when it's raining, everyone gets wet equally. It's not like you get less wet unless you're the Middle Rebbe's daughter. Rabbi Moshe had a blessing. She never got wet in the rain. Special blessing. He told her to walk between the raindrops, and she never got wet. Interesting blessing from her father. She never got wet in the rain. A miracle. But everyone else, you walk, you get wet. You have a paper bag, you have this, it doesn't matter. Everything gets wet. A speech, a talk, no. It doesn't have everyone the same. You know why? Because some people understand the subject. Some people pay more attention. Some have ADD. Some are focused. Some are sharp. And therefore, every person experiences it differently. That's davening. Davening is a time of revelation from above. But are you going to get it? You have to prepare. As we'll see, the tzedakah is one of those things that make you able to receive this revelation. There's a story told, and the same thing, by the way, is true of prophecy. I was actually learning a mimer, the Rebbe, fascinating mimer. We gave a metaphor, if you remember, a few weeks ago about radar, radio waves. The radio waves are everywhere. And the difference is that you're a receiver. It says, I saw a mimer just this week, a Bashi Lagani, my 1965. The Rebbe says, the same thing is true about prophecy. Prophecy didn't stop. Prophets stopped. What does that mean? Prophecy is like radio waves. It's coming, but there's no one to receive it today. It's not like the prophecy stopped. Prophesiers stopped. People who could Nevi'im are no longer, no one knows how to receive it. But the spiritual revelation is still there. The question is, can we receive it?
What about, like, there are...
So it says, so some tzaddikim have prophecy, we call it Ruach HaKodesh. You have, it says, before Mashiach comes, prophecy will return to the world. So you have it in the last generations. You see it tremendous, last few hundred years. Once again, prophecy, the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe and the Rebbes of Ger and Babav and Belz, great tzaddikim that is able to see the future. We go back to Shmuel Hanavi. Shmuel Hanavi, when he just started having a nevuah, he was a child. And he's sitting in his room, and he's sharing a room with Eli HaKayin, who was going to mentor him and guide him. And he suddenly hears someone call his name. So he asks, Eli, you calling me? He says, no. A few minutes later, he hears someone call his name. He says, Eli. He doesn't call him Eli. He says, Rabbi, whatever you call him. You calling me? He was receiving prophecy. He doesn't know it was prophecy. He was actually Hashem talking to him. It was angels. But he didn't know. He just heard a voice. So he finally, Eli taught him how to realize and appreciate this is actually a godly voice coming to you. Because not everyone knows. You could have something happen to you. A miracle could happen. You don't even realize it. Famous joke or story about the guy looking for a parking place. And, he says, okay, God, I found one. Why? Because you don't realize Hashem answered your prayer so quickly, you think you don't need God. Famous story that Tzemach Tzedek also. At Tzemach Tzedek, there was a woman who had a son who was... It could be I'm mixing two stories. I'll tell the story as I remember it. But is the story's right? The question, am I mixing two stories or it's one story? A woman who was a very big opponent of all belief in tzaddikim and belief in righteous men and holy men, but she was very wealthy. and she had a child who was either paralyzed or mute. I forget what it was. I think the child was paralyzed. The story doesn't make a big difference to the point of the story. But anyway, she went to every doctor, every professional, nobody could help her. She said, you know what? I'll go to the rabbi. Fine, I'll go to the rabbi. Takes a bag of gold coins, and she comes to the Tzemach Tzedek. She puts it on a table. She says, Rabbi, I heard you could do miracles. Heal my son, please. Whatever, some not most respectful way. He took the coins. He threw it on the floor. That's Tzemach Tzedek. Like, I don't need your money. The child jumps up, grabs the money, and a miracle happens. He go walk. And he's suddenly walking, and he takes the money and gives it to his mother. She says, quick, let's get out of here before he takes credit for this miracle. Something along these lines of the story. But quick, let's go before he takes credit for the miracle. In other words, there's another story of Tzemach Tzedek where a parent, there was a woman whose husband was missing on Naguna, and she gave her son who was mute a note to the. See, I think this is a different story because she takes her note that she writes on there. She says, my husband's been missing for a long time, and she gives it to her son who's mute to give it to the Tzemach Tzedek and ask a bracha. So he hands the note to the Tzemach Tzedek, and the Tzemach Tzedek says, tell your mother that your husband's such and such a place. And he comes out and he tells his mother, he can speak. So someone tells the Tzemach Tzedek, the boy was mute. He says, nobody told me. But the bottom line is, he said, that's how the miracles were done. But the bottom line is that sometimes you don't even realize the miracle is being done because we're not receiving it properly. Tzedakah is going to be, as we'll see, that tool that opens the gateway. The story that Tzemach Tzedek told his son, the Rebbe Marash, even a little couple dollars, a couple nickels, it's not amount. It's not the amount that matters. It's the act of tzedakah. It opens. So we're going to see here, we're going to understand what is davening. When we understand what davening is, it's automatically going to understand how tzedakah helps. But let's take that information, put it aside, and see the question that the Alter Rebbe asks here. Okay. Rabbi Lezer would give, it says in the Gemara, he would give a coin to a poor person, and then he would pray. Like it says, I with tzedek, which he translates here in the Gemara. To me, with tzedakah, we'll see your face. Because the revelation of godliness, may he be blessed, that is received by a person's mind when he davens with a devotion. That means when you're davening, there's something incredible happening. You see, there's two ways to daven. One is how a lot of us sometimes daven, where we just say the words, partially distracted, partially focused. Another one is where we can sit down and have an experience, where we get into a place, a zone where the world's tuned out, and we're not looking at anybody else, and we're just sitting. Sometimes it happens davening at home, sometimes in shul, and we could sit for a few minutes, maybe learn something, and then think. And you get into a place where you walk out of davening refreshed, to the point, as the Rebbe once told somebody who asked the Rebbe, what do you want to accomplish with teaching Chassidim? He says, I want when a person comes home from work at night, it's noticeable on them that they put on film and daven in the morning. What does it mean noticeable? A person who davens for real, you're a different person the whole day. It's a profound, like somebody who went for dollars by the Rebbe. Even if you weren't such a great person, you're a little callous. You were a different person for an hour, for 2 hours, for a week. It affects you. Davening should transform you. Should be so get into that zone. He says when a person comes into davening, and the godliness is, so to speak, expressed to him, it's manifest on him. So this davening is kol chad lefum shur delay. And he says this like parenthetically, which each person gets differently, meaning not everyone has the same experience. You have 3 guys daven, all very sincerely, and each guy has it differently. How much do you understand about God? How much chassidus did you learn? Did you think about it? Did you really get into a zone? So it's all different people have different reasons. Like I said before, the example difference between rain and difference between a speech. Not everyone hears the speech the same way. All of that to b'toras tzedakah v'chesed Hashem. This revelation that happens during davening is a gift. It is a gift from Hashem that takes place during davening. But as we'll see, some gifts or some rewards come, which are based on how much commensurate to what you invested. I did a little job, I get a little gift. I do a big job, I get a big gift. Sometimes you could do a small thing, the next thing you know, they give you a giant gift. Because while your part was important, but the response is going to be many, many times over. He says, so it's really, even though you earn it, so to speak, what do you mean it's a gift? I got into the zone. I prepared. I gave I gave myself an hour to sit and meditate before davening. Yes. But what's happening to you during davening is many, many, many more times over what you deserve based on your effort. And therefore, this is called the chesed. It's called the kindness. Something that comes from the world upon world, higher and higher, meaning we'll see soon, the world of angels, that comes down on those who fear God. What does that mean? This light of Hashem, which is the infinite light, this light above that shines in the higher worlds, it shines in Atzilus and in Beria and in Yitzir and all the heavens and all the lofty places, and it shines in a very strong and powerful way. So much so, so much so that the worlds don't even exist anymore, not only the physical world here. The worlds at large cease to exist. When you have something which is overwhelmingly powerful, you lose your identity. It's like, on a simple level, you can say in quantity, if you have, a grain of sand, it looks quite small on the beach, but that beach looks quite small on planet Earth. That planet Earth looks quite small in the solar system. And then the galaxy, how far do you want to go? At some point, the grain of sand doesn't exist anymore. What do you mean it doesn't exist? Go down, there's a grain of sand, yes. But in the big picture, by the time you get to the Milky Way, the grain of sand doesn't exist in anyone's radar. That's how much light on quantity, but also on quality. You can have a candle that's in a pitch black room, and the candle glows in this room beautifully. Take the candle outside, it doesn't exist anymore. What do you mean? The candle's right there on the flame. You can put your finger there, you'll burn yourself. Yeah, but you will not see that flame outside in a bright sunny day. You know why? Because overwhelmed, it ceases to exist as identity. That's what we mean. When we say cease to exist, we don't mean it stops having anything. It means it loses, it's overwhelmed by either the quantity or the quality, in this case is both, of before Hashem. And therefore, like a drop of water lost into an ocean, it doesn't lose, it's lost. It doesn't exist anymore. What do you mean? I'm a drop of water. Yeah. The hein, what are we talking about, these spaces? We're talking about those chambers in the loftier worlds, which are filled with angels and filled with souls. And we know from past classes that souls really are higher than angels. Angels make it, if they're lucky, up to Bria. Shamas can make it up to Atzilus and start in Atzilus. Which is explained in the Zohar, the Holy Zohar, in all the places, and we mention them in the order the way the rabbis have the prayer. So we start off saying in Shema, as Shem, we're talking about in Iggeres Krishma, we say it every morning. That's how we go into all the angels and how they are and all the praises, and then Srafim, Iggeres Hakodesh, all the different type of Ifanim, all the angels, all the different energies that we go through in the course of davening. So you have that light that's in abundance in the higher worlds. And when someone davens, that light shines, so to speak, down. It's not a physical, shine like a ray, but it comes down. It's a peacefulness. By the way, a person that's in the true state of davening is called shas sleisa, shas kreva. Davening is a war. What does it mean? I want to daven. I'm an animal, so I want to think about a cookie, wants to think about shopping, wants to think about somebody who got me angry yesterday, whatever it is. Of distraction. He's not looking inside. He came late. Where was he all the time? Our minds are working in 40 different directions. So it's a battle. Control yourself, focus. But that's when you're living in a state of battle. Sometimes you can get to a state of peace. When is that? If sometimes it could be having a shul and a shtibel. In the tradition of Chabad Chassidim for years, there was always said, any shul that doesn't have a second room next to the shul to daven in is not a Chabad shul. Because the old shuls today, if we sit in the side shul, we're having a l'chaim, But if back in the day, when people were real holy people, they would sit in the room next to the shul, they would put a talis over their head, and they would sing a niggun, and they would daven, and get into a place where the world ceased to exist. And it was at absolute state of harmony, of serenity. And that's what we're talking about. And the reason it was next to the shul is when they did Baruch Hu, you guys said Baruch Hu, but I'm not in the noise of the shul. I just need a place to sit, throw my talis over my head. In 1965, the Rebbe for bringing, actually very interesting. I was, of course, very young then. It was 7 years before I was born. But that time I heard this for bringing actually from a number of people. I read something for bringing, but the Rebbe said he wished Chassidim would have this again, to go back and throw the talis over the head. He says, even if you're falling asleep on your towels, let your friend think you're davening. He said, create that atmosphere again. Create an atmosphere where a chazan throws his towels over his head. You get into a zone of like the chassidim. You're busy, you're looking, you're checking, you're doing. So when a person gets to that place, like on the Shabbos, where it could be not just davening is a battle, but davening becomes peace. When you're talking, getting into that zone with a niggin, with a joy, he says that is absolute. What is that? It's the godliness descending upon you. It's that peacefulness that's coming upon you. He says like this. This then is when davening, you daven, this light of Hashem, this energy comes down into this world, on this low world. Al Yirei Hashem v'chesh ve'shmei, those who are God-fearing and sit and dwell upon God's name, hachfeitzim la'avdei ba'avedish v'lev zitfila, whose desire is to sit and daven, to sit, not davening for stuff, not davening because I see the world and it's so godly. I'm davening because ha'teifel klicheres. We say there's different expressions for davening. Teifel klicheres means the way they used to make. There's different ways described. I've heard it both ways. I'll tell you both ways. One is when you wrap something like a tape around a clay vessel that became broken, and you tape it up so it becomes bonded again. Or some say it's with taking plaster and putting it around it. But the bottom line is the same idea. You're making all those shards become one. The word tefillah doesn't literally mean to pray. We translate it that way. It literally means to bond. Like tefillin, you're bonding them upon your hand. Tefillah is something of a bonding. So you're coming to a state of true bonding where davening means I'm getting into that place. How do you get there? As we'll see, you give a coin to the charity box. You put a coin in the charity box, it has a tremendous impact. Moshe Kosov, like it says, Vashem Yagia Chashki to my darkness, which means that which was dark becomes light. A person who's fortunate to come into davening, we just had it in today's Tanya or yesterday's Tanya. Yesterday's or today's, I forget. I think it was yesterday's.
Beinoni.
Yeah, but talking about the Beinoni, and that he's talking about how really during davening it's yesterday's because today we went to the next step to try and be a tzaddik, right? Today we're talking about trying to be a tzaddik. Yesterday we're talking about even a Beinoni could experience some tzaddik moments. When is that? It's about davening. When you're davening, you could actually be in a tzaddik moment. Why is that? Because when you're davening, what's a tzaddik? Right now I have no. Is a Beinoni has an interest in material objectives. I'd like to have cheesecake. I'd like to talk Lashon Hara. I'd like to do something I should. I'd like to stay in bed, but I don't. The Beinoni always doesn't do what he likes, does what he should, but he likes. The tzaddik doesn't even have that interest, or he has a disinterest in material. When you get into the zone of davening, you have no interest at that time in a piece of cookie or a chocolate cake or a Lashon Hara. Why? Because you're in a zone now. You get to that place. That is this gift. That is that gift that you can get into a davening. Hashem Yagia Chashki. Hashem can take my darkness. I'm not a Beinoni. I'm not a Rasha. God forbid. I am a tzaddik at that moment. Why? I have no interest in anything else. I'm in that zone of davening. And that, by the way, is the truest definition of bittul. Bittul means it's not myself projecting, it's myself being. Just there's Hashem, there's davening, there's words, there's no me. Of course there's a me who's davening, but there's no me projecting self. It's all about what's being done, what's happening, what has to happen.
What's tefillah? It's also from word tafel. Tafel, it's like mevutal.
Right, but that we tuffle with a test. That we tuffle with a test. So it's but again, by the way, we have a rule, which we spoke about many times. Any word that's similar in sound has the same application, which means if it sounds the same or it's spelled the same way, you have many words that are spelled the same way, but mean different things. For an example, chamar. Chamar can mean a donkey. Chamar can mean wine. So, and it makes sense because you drink too much wine, you act like a donkey, So it's not a joke. The words are related to each other. Most beautifully, one of the words I love, which always shows the truth of Torah. I love this, is the word for ears in the Torah is ozen. The word for scales, balancing scales, is maznayim. The Torah already, when it gave us the Torah 3,000 years ago, knew about the equilibrium and the balance of the person. The Torah is called scales. The Torah calls ears, balancing things, because the ears really carry your equilibrium. In other words, all words. But in any case, now, getting back to the point, this revelation of Hashem to bring you to this point to experience davening is a gift from Hashem. It's chesed. You have guys who try and don't get there. Unfortunately, Many people, sweet, good people, come into shul, they want to daven, and it doesn't get there. It's one struggle after another, and their mind is constantly being chased by 100 thoughts, whether it's related to a job they have to do, or as the Rabbi say, Mayim Rabim, my business, my parnasa, I'm stressed out by my bills, my credit card bills, my mortgage, my payments. That's the biggest stress on most people. So the bottom line is, it's a gift when it does happen, when you could get into a zone and daven. The point of this whole paragraph is one thing. That experience is chesed, it's a kindness. And the nickname we give it is water. Chesed is always called water. Fire is gevura. In general, if you want to take everything in the world fits into a category, whether it's a color, whether it's a thing, whether it's an experience, right, left. Chesed is water. Chesed's kindness. Fire is gevura. This idea of mayim, this water that quenches our thirst and satisfies and satiates us, this chesed is the experience of davening. What we're going to do in the coming weeks, next week, I probably won't be here, but we're going to do in the coming weeks, to see, I'm going to, I'll let you know. We'll do in the coming weeks is go into what the challenge is, what's the blockage from this happening, and how giving a coin to tzedakah, as we'll see, the idea of zeriah. We're going to talk about the same idea that Tamar said in the beginning. The little bit of tzedakah that we give is like a seed. A seed has an unbelievable nature to it. It doesn't really matter the size. The size is insignificant, but more than that. And this is one of the areas where science, I did a whole, we'll talk about it, I guess, in a couple of weeks. I did a whole look into this a while ago with talking with somebody who was very big into planting, trying to understand the concept. In general, we get to it. We get to the ideas of seeds, whether it's reproduction, whether it's planting seeds in the ground, any type of seed that grows. It's not the seed itself, but what the seed elicits in the recipient. In other words, the understanding we have is that it's not the seed that grows. The seed elicits a certain response from the earth. And the power of growth, this, whether it's a spiritual power or a science power, that can be discussed. But the power to grow a gift of a tree is from the earth. And the seed actually has to rot and become nullified and disintegrate. And then it becomes the seed, then it becomes a seedling. So this idea is telling us at the end of the day, it really was never about what I gave. It was about what the receiver received. And that's going to be a very key element in the whole story of tzedakah. It's not about me giving, it's about giving as being received. In other words, when it comes to the davening and we give tzedakah, if it was all about me giving, then how could one coin make such a difference? But it was about me being told, when you want to buy a soda, you push this button and the soda will come out of the machine. That means I could program it that you put anything in there. How much money you put into the machine is a program of the machine. I could have when you walk by, every time you push the button, the soda comes out. We're just telling you which button to push, and that will produce the tree, so to speak. And the Hashem says it's this act of chesed, this act of tzedakah, that produced this result of Hashem's revelation into the world. Okay. Yeah, one of the things also is going to address, I want to mention, that one of the questions we have in the story in the beginning is, it seems like tzedakah and davening don't match. As a one, whenever we have something called midah keneged midah, everything you do, like what Pari didn't want to put any punishment except the water, because Hashem made a promise, I'll never drown the people again. He knew Hashem always responds midah keneged midah. The way you do something, I'll get back to you. You drown the kids, I'll drown you. Hashem promised never to bring a flood again. But Hashem never said, I'll never bring you to the flood, you to the water. The act of tzedakah seems to be a mitzvah ben adam l'chaverei. We have mitzvahs between man and man, or woman and woman, and a mitzvah between man and God, woman and God. So if that's the case, a mitzvah of tzedakah is really between me and another person. How is the result of that a result between me and God? If I would reach out to God and God reciprocates, that makes sense. I'm not reaching out to God. If I'm kind to another person, Hashem should make the person should be kind to me. When you give charity to others, Hashem will make people treat you kindly. One of the questions Alter Rebbe has is it doesn't really match. We have a mitzvah of between man and man giving tzedakah, and the response is your davening will be better. My response should be you'll make more money in business. And that's what it says in the prophets in Malachi. It says that if you give tzedakah, you will become wealthy. Hashem will give you wealthy. And Hashem says, test me out. Test me out. You'll see. Give tzedakah. And we've seen many beautiful stories. People are testing God, and it worked. This area, the only area to test God. So the question what Alter is really addressing is, and we'll get to that also, the answer. A mitzvah between man and man, elicit a response between man and God. That's the other part. Okay, we'll stop here and wish everyone to have a meaningful preparation for Yud Shvat.